If Aston Martin wants to win in Formula 1, they need to sign Lance Stroll on a multi-year contract. Okay. I know what you're thinking, but let me prove to you two things. One, I haven't clickbaited you, and two, no, I'm not on drugs. Let me have this chance. Basically, we know the Lance Stroll story. We know the background. If you don't know, his father is very, very rich. He's loaded, very loaded, and he's bankrolled his whole career through motorsport. His father got him into Formula 1, paid Williams a lot of money to get him into Formula 1, and he's bankrolled, a large portion of his career, which isn't strange in Formula 1, which isn't strange in motorsport in general, because motorsport is a very expensive sport. To even get into motorsport, you need a lot of money. And there's been a lot of people with rich parents, and it's like not strange for parents to bankroll their children. It's just a normal thing. Look at Lando Norris, for example. His father's really rich, so there's no shame to be bankrolled by your father, but there's a certain point where your parents bankroll you through the grid, and then your talent will be taken over by a team who's willing to pay you. For example, Lando Norris now, obviously he got bankrolled by his father, bankrolled by a few sponsors, and now he's in a fast car, and McLaren are paying him very high wages, and his father can take a back seat because he's proved that he's now good enough for Formula 1, so his talent's taken over. Lance Stroll, yes, he came into Formula 1 as a paid driver and is pretty much still is in Formula 1 as a paid driver, but he's not as bad as Mazepin, Latifi, and he has his good results on his day. The problem with Lance Stroll is his consistency. He's not consistently at his best all the time. And because his father bankrolled him for so long and his father's kept him in Formula 1 for so long, it's kind of like being a negative thing for him, and the way people look at him is in a negative way. And if I'm being really honest with you, we both know that if it wasn't for his father, he wouldn't be in Formula 1. Throughout his career in Formula 1, he's had negative press or negative comments about him, like people saying he should be out of Formula 1, or some people just like, then it goes quiet, then we just leave him, let him be, and he gets on with his own driving and his own career. Like last year when he was with Vettel, it wasn't really out there, people wasn't really saying much, it was just like quietly people were just saying, he shouldn't really be in Formula 1. But this year, especially at the start of the season, Aston Martin was doing really well, and Fernando Alonso was getting all the podiums, and Lance Stroll wasn't. And that's when a lot of people have come out and said that he shouldn't be in Formula 1. And a lot of people have said that if Aston Martin want to win, then they need to have a second driver in that team with Fernando Alonso, a different driver in that team with Fernando Alonso. Whereas I disagree. I think that if Aston Martin want to win, they need to keep Lance Stroll. They need to sign him for 2 more years. I don't know how his contract works, but they need to sign him for at least 2 more years. And the reason is, you have to look at the other side of the garage in the Aston Martin team. Lance Stroll is now with Fernando Alonso. And you need to look back at Fernando Alonso's history. And you need to look at how long Fernando Alonso's contract is. Alonso's contracted for 2+1. So that's 2 guaranteed years and then an option for a third. So if Aston Martin have improved this year, which they have done, and then they improved even more next year, and it looks like they're going to improve even further for the 3rd year, then pretty much guaranteed that Alonso will be there for 3 seasons in total before he pretty much retires. Aston Martin have taken a risk. By signing Fernando Alonso, they've taken a massive risk. You have to look back at Fernando Alonso's history in Formula 1, and you have to look at how he's left teams in Formula 1, and near enough every team is always left with a bad taste. It always follows the same pattern. It's always great at the beginning. This is a great new start of the chapter. We're going to do great things together. And then by the end, it's just like, I hate my life right here. I want out of this contract. I want out of this team. And I can't wait to start the new challenge. It's been over and over and over again. At the end of his Renault career, he started saying things in the press conference about the team wasn't supporting him and he didn't feel supported. And then obviously went to McLaren the first time round, and we know what happened in 2007 and how that kind of ended. He signed a 3-year contract there, and that ended after 1 year. Then he went back to Renault. That period didn't really end too badly, but they were just a midfield team then. Then he went to Ferrari, started off great, got the first win in the first race, and things were going great, but then He wanted that to end. Went to McLaren Honda again. That started off great. Ron Dennis and Fernando Alonso became mates again, and they're saying all these nice things about each other and like, forget the past, we're going to do great things. But then obviously McLaren came out of this size 0 chassis that Honda couldn't make an engine for, and then there's the GP2 engine thing, and then Honda hated Alonso left, and Honda wouldn't give him engines in IndyCar, so he couldn't win the 500 with the Chevrolet engine. So there's just this pattern of Alonso being toxic at the end. And then even last year he came back into Formula 1. The Alonso that came back into Formula 1 seemed a lot calmer than the one that left, and it seemed a lot more grateful and more mature being in Formula 1 than the one that left. Yeah, and he seemed like he'd be more of a team player than the one that left. He was helping Ocon. They've been friendly off track. He helped Ocon win in Hungary. But then the second year, started getting toxic. They had contact in Brazil, and by the end of the summer break, he signed a contract without telling Alpine, and he just he came out with all these quotes about how he was happy to leave the team and he wanted to start a new chapter, and it's just all over again. So Aston Martin have taken a risk. They've taken this risk by signing Fernando Alonso. They know that there's a lot of teams on the grid that wouldn't touch Alonso, and there's been a lot of teams that he could have driven for, and he could have won more world championships if he didn't have this history of being toxic within a team. So Aston Martin have taken this risk by signing Alonso, and so far, with the first half of this season, it's paid off. He's had 6 podiums. He's been really happy, been really positive with the team. He's been a team player. He's been following team orders. He's been helping Lance Stroll with his with the strategy, and helping him improve his pace. And he's generally been positive. He hasn't said anything negative about the team in the press, especially with this Canada update, which obviously didn't work. Alonso hasn't trashed the update. He's been trying to push it off as something else in the press, like saying the change of tyres has affected him, and all this positive things that's happened since he signed to Aston Martin. It's like he's a different character, a fresh new Alonso. But you have to remember that a leopard does not change its spots. And going back to why I think that the best option for Aston Martin, if they really want to win races, they need to focus on keeping Alonso happy. And Alonso is happy when he dominates his teammate. Alonso is the happiest when his teammate is not challenging him and is not getting better results and is not out-qualifying him. You go back in history and you see his teammates, and he's only been beaten twice. 2007, and we know that didn't go too well. That was pure civil war in the McLaren team, and that cost him the World Championship that year. And then obviously last year with Ocon, and we know what happened there. Like I mentioned, there was contact, argy-bargy, and yeah, it was just a toxic environment at the end. For Aston Martin to succeed, they need to be concentrating on just improving the car, making everyone harmonious in the garage, everyone's happy, nothing's distracting them, just concentrating on improving the car. If they get rid of Lance Stroll and they bring in a driver who then is able to challenge Alonso, and then that turns into some kind of civil war within the team where they're fighting each other, Alonso gets toxic and he splits the garages, and then he tries these political tricks that he does like he normally does, then that will distract Aston Martin from them trying to improve the car to be a winning car. So that's why I think for them to improve, they need to keep what they have, keep the drivers they have, keep Alonso happy so that they can just concentrate on improving the car. If you found this video interesting, feel free to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and enjoy the next race.